All right. Welcome, everybody. Hopefully this new mic is picking up my voice. Welcome to the Papillion Vista Community Schools Board of Education meeting, July 22nd, 2024. We will start with section 1, call to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, roll call.
Ms. Witt?
Here.
Mr. Bailey?
Here.
Ms. Wood?
Here.
Mr. Lotus?
Here.
Mr. Adler? Ms. Fisher?
Here.
Present.
Okay, I'd like to remind everyone we have the open meetings law posted at the entrance of the room. Moving on to section 2, communication, we have item A, the military advisor, Colonel Klesiak. Please come down. Welcome. Welcome, Colonel.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. It's on the 31st of July. It's a great opportunity, especially for many of our new parents, to come in, have a chance to be able to see what resources are available in the local area. And Dr. Rickley, do want to thank you, some of your staff for coming and presenting at Operation Backpack. It's going to be great to have the opportunity for our new parents to have a chance to be able to answer some of the questions or ask some questions, get them answered from your folks that are going to be there. So we do greatly appreciate that. Second, we have been very busy gearing up for our air show. That's going to be the 24th and 25th of August. We do have the STEM tent that'll be up for a lot of our students who want to come in to be able to see that. We will have the Air Force Thunderbirds demonstration team there as well. And you'll start to see information on parking coming out relatively soon on our webpage that we have. Give all the details of the parking lots, how the shuttle system is going to work, and all of that. So you'll start to see that here in just a couple more days. Another item for us, Miss Leanne Yanikov. She has been our school liaison officer working the last couple of years. She is now going to be fully remote working. She still is going to be working. We'll be able to tap in and be able to use her expertise, but she has PCS with her husband down to Kansas. We'll see her back from time to time as she comes up for some of our bigger events, but day to day she'll be gone. But I'll tell you right now, I was talking with her today and it's like she had never even left yet. So great for us to still, like I say, be able to tap into her expertise and the relationships she's built. We do have another school liaison officer that'll be onboarding with us relatively soon, and we'll have the opportunity to bring her by and introduce all of you to her as well. And then just one other item. We are in the middle of our big PCS season, our big permanent change of station. We have a lot of inbound personnel coming in, a lot of people unfortunately leaving here. I just do want to thank so much to the principals and to the school administrations all across Papillion La Vista that have been very good on answering questions, being able to go and take care of all the new students that we have coming in. Especially for our brand new parents, first time kids going to school, trying to do that and coupling that with a move. So you're uprooting your child and now you're bringing them into a brand new school. It has been great having the schools working so closely with these parents. We really do appreciate that tremendously. And then lastly, when I was here last, we were talking about the potential of some flooding on the Missouri River with the levees and all of that. Fortunately to say, that didn't happen, so no 2019 all over again. It looked like everything worked out perfectly for us there. So, but again, very busy summer for us, but I'd be willing to entertain any questions you might have.
Colonel, as always, thank you for being here. I think you mentioned at the last meeting with Ms. Yanikoff relocating with her husband that she would still be available, but that there might long-term be a replacement that would be here on station at Offutt or at least in the
Yes.
Bellevue. Is that still the plan, and any
That
idea
is.
when that hire might be finalized?
We're hoping that it gets finalized here within about the next month. Have her on
Outstanding.
board. So,
Well, once that happens, as always, we would love an opportunity to meet him or her and just
Absolutely.
continue to do the good work and the relationship that we have. So thank you so
yep,
much for
plan
that.
on bringing her to another meeting and have the chance to introduce before the meeting starts. So, all right.
You said there's information coming out about the air show. Is that on the Offutt Air Force Base website? And do you have a URL?
The website will link to our actual air show page that you'll have. We also have it on Facebook. Great opportunity to be able to get some of the updates on your phone there if you have that app. I'm still learning how to use that myself.
For that.
So, all right.
Colonel, I was pleased to see a Facebook post earlier today from a former Monarch alumni that is an Air Force pilot who will be just announced that he will be flying in a couple planes to be be in for the air show and to show off a couple of his planes before he at least announced that he will soon be retiring for active duty. So, Mr. Tommy Reynolds, we look forward to seeing you here back on base, back in Omaha, and he was here for the last air show, so I was glad to see him announce that he'll be back. So,
Yeah, we're so glad to have the air show back. What a great event for us to be able to go and show off the base and what the Air Force does, and to have everybody else come in and see what we do every single day. So we're really looking forward to that. Okay. All right.
Thank you, Colonel.
Thank you very much.
Good night. Okay, moving on to section 2. We don't have any public comment that I'm seeing for items not on the agenda. So moving on to item C, Superintendent's Report. Dr. Rickley.
Thank you very much, Mr. Madler, members of the board. Happy Monday, everyone, and thank you for joining us this evening, whether you are with us in attendance live or watching us online for our streaming platform. We appreciate you engaging with your school district and your Board of Education. If you are watching at home, you won't be able to appreciate this, but we have a little bit of a new look in our boardroom. Thanks to Ms. Siri and Mr. Moore and their team. They've done some things with speakering, they've done some things with audio-visual, timer clock, which will really help, I think, with our public commenters. I know that's always difficult for them to gauge the time. So we've tried to do some things that'll not only make it easier for our community to engage with us, but also increase some of the aesthetics and the audio-visual quality. So again, Shireen and Matt, thanks for your good work. It'll definitely make for smoother board meetings, hopefully. Also wanted to remind everyone, we are bringing some programs to a close as well as starting new. Summer school is officially over at all grade levels. Just want to shout out for our administrators and teachers that run that program. It is not easy to run elementary alone. We typically have approaching 300 students plus. A lot of teachers, a lot of administrators, a lot of support staff pitch in to make that a special event, something that our own Ms. Wood can appreciate as a former supervisor of that program. So thank you for another successful summer school. And today was the first day of Kindergarten Jumpstart, which is a funded program that helps ease the transition for our 5-year-olds as they start transitioning into our kindergarten programs, and it's been a really successful program for us. Also wanted to make note of something that appeared on a board agenda a few meetings ago that we just wanted to kind of put a ribbon on. So we had a conversation with the board and bond counsel about a possible bond refunding. And we had lots of deliberation with the board. We had representatives from DA Davison answering questions. It created, I think, some questions with the board because we had never done this specific type of refunding. Other school districts had, we had not. So there was always a little bit of that unknown factor. Well, the long and short of it is we proceeded with the refunding under the board's wise counsel. And that leap of faith ended up saving our taxpayers in excess of $550,000, which is a large number by any measure. So we just wanted our community, wanted our staff to be aware that we did proceed with that. It ended up being a wise decision. I want to thank the board for their leadership as well as Mr. Richards for all of his good work on that. We did have a recognition or two. I think I'm going to hold it, Dr. Settles. We did have one of our students, we found out, and I'm not seeing him, so maybe next meeting, but we had a senior to be at Papillion La Vista South that was elected a national officer at Project Lead the Way. Anytime we have a local student that receives a national officer position, that's a really big deal, especially on a highly recognized organization like Project Lead the Way. So I'm hoping we can get Brock back maybe at a future meeting. We thought maybe he would be here. He's with us virtually. Brock, don't know if you're watching online. If you are, we're very proud of you, but we would love to get you back to a future board meeting. And speaking of recognitions, the newest member of the Papillion La Vista Community Schools administrative team has joined us with his family. So Matt Hager is sitting in the front row. Matt, if you'd give us a little bit of a wave, with his lovely children and his lovely wife, Abby. So Matt's been an outstanding leader for us in a number of capacities. Papillion La Vista South, with the sad passing of Mr. Yano Jones, we wanted to move carefully, but we also wanted to move in a way that facilitated supporting our kids come the start of the school year. Dr. Settles ran a terrific search. It was a surprisingly deep pool, given the timing. In the middle of summer, you never know what you're going to get. But we had a really deep pool of candidates. Mr. Hager rose to the top. Matt, you've done outstanding things for the district. We can't wait to see the great things you continue to do at Papillion La Vista South. So thanks for you and Abby for being here. It means a lot. Sadly, this won't be your last board meeting, so I'll just warn you in advance, but we appreciate you being here. A couple other things, just very briefly. I had the good fortune of attending a meeting last Wednesday in Lincoln with Governor Pillen, Commissioner Maher, and a handful of other superintendents were there. Won't get into all of the details of the governor's plan, but I do think it's important for perhaps our staff and parents that are listening. This district, this board, this administration has taken no position on anything with the special session that starts later this week for the simple fact that there are no bills. No formal bills have been introduced, though that will change shortly. We certainly know what Governor Pillen would like to see happen, but at the end of the day, the legislature will consider some bills, and then they'll go through the legislative process like they would in any other session, even though this is a special session. So once those bills have been dropped, I think this board and this district will be in a better place to say we support this, not that. But I would say this about the governor's plan quite broadly. I think his stated intentions of reducing property taxes and increasing the state's share of its financial support for our public schools, I think most people would say these are very reasonable, good, and positive goals. Secondly, I think it's very admirable that this governor routinely meets with the superintendents. It hasn't always been that way. And I can think of at least 5 or 6 different situations in the last year alone where Governor Pillen has specifically asked school leaders to sit down and meet with him. That says a lot about the character of the man, in my opinion. There are questions that I suspect this board will have and boards across the state of Nebraska. Basically, it will drop the general fund levy over time from $1.05 to 0. It will limit future growth to 3%, which in many years we can meet, but in years of expansion or new buildings, that will be difficult to meet. I think the broadest concerns that I personally have, I'm not speaking for the Board of Education, but the broadest concerns that I have about the proposal are twofold. One, with this radical shift from local property taxes to state funding, I think a reasonable question to be asked is what happens if the state can't meet its financial obligations in future years? Because they are taking additional funding of at least $1.5 billion additional dollars to make the math work, and it could potentially be more. So can the state fund this long term? We hope so, but we don't know that. I think perhaps the other question that I have, and perhaps the board members around me, is if the state is paying an ever-increasing share of our schools, how much does that diminish the local control that our boards of education have? It is my firm belief that we have outstanding public school districts in the state of Nebraska, due in no small part to outstanding, not good, but outstanding school boards. And I believe that in general, decisions that are made closest to the action are the best decisions. Our school boards are closest to our schools, our families, our students, and our staff. Therefore, I believe they are best positioned to make decisions for that same group of people. So I don't mean to be overly critical. I applaud the governor for attacking the problem in a proactive way. Again, I think his philosophy is sound, but I want to make sure that we have outstanding public schools now and forevermore, and I have great faith that our school boards are the best people to do that. So my apologies if I'm editorializing there, but just wanted to make sure the community understood that that is something we are watching very closely. Just last couple of matters. We've got back to school event coming up Thursday, August 8th. That's always a fun party, as well as an opportunity to share our teachers and staff of the year. Dr. V has facilitated the process of selecting those candidates. First day of school, August 13th, and Foundation Gala, August 24th. That was longer than usual, so my apologies, but a lot of things going on with school just around the corner. And with that, Mr. Madler, I'd conclude my superintendent comments.
Thank you, Dr. Rickley. Moving on to item D, board reports.
I know Marcus and I attended the listening session that the senators put on. The governor wasn't able to do them in Omaha or Lincoln, so a group of senators put it on. It's a listening session. Marcus is going to report on it, but I went to listen. I didn't go to speak. And what I heard very much supports public education in our state. Citizens are willing to do what they need to do to keep it public and to keep it locally controlled, and that was very refreshing to hear.
Okay, no one else? Then I'll just add on to what Ms. Witt said. It was great. I was grateful for the senators. I think maybe there were 8 senators that ended up showing. I think there were a couple more on the list that had issues and couldn't make it. There were the turnout. I mean, you never know how many people are going to be at this thing. I mean, Ms. Witt and I driving there, like, we might be the only ones at this thing. And they had 150 chairs, and they were all taken well before the start. And they were packed into that room to the point where people were standing outside. So I'm guessing there were 200 plus people there. And it went 2 hours. The senators spoke for maybe 20 minutes, just passing the mic. Some of them sharing a little more how they felt, others not really showing their cards yet. But then you had, I'm guessing, like 40 to 50 speakers get up there, and each one had 2 to 3 minutes to speak. It was, one, great seeing the engagement of people in the community and being that aware of the issues and willing to take time out of their Sunday to go voice their concerns. And I would say the vast majority of the comments, it was great to see how positive they were on our public schools. I think there were concerns around the proposals, mainly because of the potential issues of the future fundings, like you talked through. What does this look like in 3, 5, 7, 10 years from now? And the concern that you're going to take away control from, the 220-something local boards in this state to 49 state senators and a governor. And what are they going to be enacting as a one-size-fits-all when we know every district is different? So I would say that was the vast majority of the comments from the speakers. Again, great to see. I know they had another one today down in Lincoln. I didn't see how it went. I saw a picture and it looked like it was another packed house as well, which is great. And for those listening, they are accepting comments just via web form. So you can go online and find that form. And it is for not just the 8 senators that were hosting those listening sessions, but to be shared with everyone as well. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see when that special session kicks off. What, next week? This week? Next week?
The 25th and the 26th.
This week,
so
yep.
later this week.
And see, there's, you've heard numbers of how many bills are going to be introduced, which then means the number of committee hearings that they're going to have. When they actually gavel in, it'll be interesting to see those first couple days of what that looks like. I'm sure all of them are getting ready for it. So, like you said, more to come. Once we have more specifics, then we'll be able to dive in to the specific bills. Yeah, thanks, Ms. Witt, for going with me.
Very nice.
Okay. Any other comments? No? All right. Moving on to item E, committee reports, buildings, grounds, and finance.
Yeah, we did meet after the last board meeting, focused primarily on the upcoming budget and the budget process and other items that are on tonight's agenda. We have another meeting scheduled, I believe, for Friday, August 2nd.
Okay, human resources and student services.
We did meet, and we reviewed in depth the 5,000 policy changes. Those are on the agenda tonight. We talked about student-teacher status and how the fall is usually a little bit harder to find them because they're just starting those semesters, and that we're expecting a larger group to look at in the spring, but we're still also looking at innovative incentives to encourage student teachers to come to Papillion Vista schools. Staffing update, there's a few positions. We're fully staffed in the professional staff, but there have been some changes recently, so there's a few to be filled, and we're still looking at those lemonade stands and getting more employees interested in the classified staff, so please call HR if you're interested in any of those. And then Dr. Rickley was able to give us an update on the governor's session with the superintendents, which he reported on already this evening.
Thank you. Curriculum and Americanism.
We met the day after our last board meeting, and we do have an item on for discussion this evening, and that's the 6,000 instruction. But during our committee meeting, we did have some conversation about the 5,000 series, just some of the changes that might be required as an update to the law. And then we also went through 6,000 series about some of the things that will need to be tweaked or updated a little bit, and that's what will be the topic of conversation in the discussion items this evening.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Fisher. Moving on to Section 3, action items. Item A, action by consent.
I make a motion to approve the action by consent items as listed, including the board meeting and student fees hearing minutes of July 8th, 2024.
Second?
Okay, we have the motion by Mr. Bailey and a second by Ms. Fisher. Roll call.
Mr. Bailey?
Yes.
Ms. Wood?
Yes.
Mr. Lotus?
Yes.
Mr. Madler?
Yes.
Ms. Fisher?
Yes.
Ms. Witt?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, moving on to item B, the policy 7000, construction. Mr. Richards.
Thank you, Mr. Madler. After review and a lot of changes from a year ago and additions from a year ago, we feel like the 7,000s are in pretty good shape. So we'd recommend no changes at this time.
I'll make a motion to move to acknowledge review of the 7,000 series board policies.
Second?
We have the motion by Mr. Lotus and a second by Ms. Wood. Any discussion? No, roll call.
Ms. Wood?
Yes.
Mr. Lotus?
Yes.
Mr. Madler?
Yes.
Ms. Fisher?
Yes.
Ms. Witt?
Yes.
Mr. Bailey?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, moving on to Section 4, discussion information items. Item A, the La Vista Middle School bond update. Mr. Richards.
Yes, thank you again. I'll ask Mr. Steeran, Greg Steeran from BCDM to come up from our architect firm to discuss this project with you. Been a lot of time put in on these designs, and really appreciative with BCDM, Lamper Nearson, and our construction partners putting in the time to really go through each and every design that we're looking to do in those buildings, the renovations. And we're getting close to getting some costs put together. We think we're trending towards being within budget at this particular time, so I thought it would be a good time to bring it before the board before we bring the guaranteed maximum price to you in our next meeting. I'll turn it over to Greg to kind of go through the projects.
Yes, thank you very much, Brett, and thanks for having me here tonight. So I've got a floor plan, site plan, and then a fly-through video that I'd like to walk you all through here. Just from a scope standpoint, in generalities, what you're seeing there is the new addition in blue, kind of some lighter renovation in yellow, and then the areas in gray really don't receive much work. A lot of that was scope within the 2012 bond where we added the kitchen to the cafeteria renovation, et cetera. So generally, the area in yellow, which represents the majority of the school, we're looking at scopes such as ceiling and LED lighting replacement, door hardware replacements on a lot of classrooms to help security, mechanical unit replacements, things of that nature. When we're looking more in the green area, you're seeing kind of in the core of the building is the science labs. That's kind of a heavier renovation within that area. While we're not looking at reconfiguring the shapes of the rooms themselves, we are kind of completely replacing flooring, ceiling, lighting, casework, getting gas fed to the teacher stations to bring that up to the same standards as Papillion and Liberty Middles. And then there's kind of 4 different quadrants there in the classroom wing that are green as well. Currently, those are teacher workrooms with a couple of offices that are kind of narrow hallways and not as accessible. Kind of reconfiguring those to be teacher offices, sensory rooms, getting some faculty restrooms that are now not available to them. So that's kind of what is represented in those areas. And then the blue addition there is a counseling suite addition. We're looking at a couple offices there, some reception and kind of secured file storage in that area, as well as a conference room and kind of a more public work area for the staff to collaborate in as well. And again, that kind of brings La Vista Middle to the same standard as Liberty and Papillion. So on the lower level, you're seeing a little bit of yellow there down in the locker rooms. There's some kind of telecom and flooring work that occurs down on that level. And then, sorry, I did miss down in the lower right-hand corner of the main level, you do see a little bit of green there in the girls' locker room. So we're taking out the group showers, getting that to be a couple individual ones, as well as reconfiguring the staff, the coach's office area to get them a more ADA accessible facilities in their area. So if we are able to kind of switch to the next view and look at the site plan, same orientation, so you're seeing that blue addition off on the upper left-hand corner. Around the entirety of the classroom wing there, you see kind of a gray line, and that's sidewalk being added around the entire perimeter of the classroom wing. There's a number of classrooms that exit directly to the exterior, or corridors that exit to the exterior that just emptied out into the lawn. And so really from a safety standpoint, fire exit, being able to access the public way in a paved fashion. As you're kind of going down to the lower left-hand corner is the parking lot to the adjacent church. You'll see there's a diagonal gray line there. There's a lot of kids get dropped off in that parking lot and traverse the hillside there. And so just providing a paved path there with some stairs again to provide a little safer route in that direction. There's also a little gray area there dashed. There was a leadership SARPI group that put together a little kind of paved patio area that we're coordinating with them to make sure that coincides with the bond scope there. So that's kind of what that represents. As we kind of move more to the right and the track and athletics area, you'll see we're looking at doubling the bleacher capacity here. And basically same bleachers that are there and just kind of doubling that same detail up, potentially getting a more direct path down that hill with stairs down to the track. There's a small press box in that location as well, kind of bringing that down to an on-grade component that's not up and kind of maybe blocking the view a little bit. You'll also see up on the right, or up at the top of the track, kind of some outbuildings with storage, et cetera, that we're keeping the structure there, but redoing the siding and the doors there. And then a big component's obviously not just resurfacing, but completely redoing that track. It's of an age that a resurface does not do the job, and so that is just beginning a whole new track here, so that should help the experience for sure. And then I think the last component is the sidewalk that kind of meanders up to the top of the site there, doing some regrading and re-diverting of that to make a true ADA path down to the track. I think there's one last slide is just the existing conditions that shows that you can see where the sidewalk and stair from that church parking lot is the worn condition that the students use. So they'll find a way, and we just want to provide a little safer route for them there. So then I think we got the fly-through video. Again, kind of coming into the front entrance here. All the hollow metal frames, the doors and windows there would be replaced here, again enhancing the security and the hardware on those, kind of redoing the flooring in that recessed pit area, this commons area. As we go into the gymnasium, kind of getting some new bleachers in there that are plastic instead of wood, again ADA accessible, retractable there. able to get some school colors incorporated into that. As we go into the science wings, or science rooms, again, all the flooring and ceilings, lighting, but then all the casework comes out and able to get sinks and gas and everything upgraded to current standards. This is the exterior of that counseling addition, and so really just kind of blending into the existing building there. This actually faces where the Buildings and Grounds facility is, just to give context of kind of where this addition is at. As we go in there, then this would be the entrance into that suite. So again, reception with some secured storage. As we are off on the left, there's a couple of offices down this corridor with a conference room as well. And then at the end of this, a more open area for faculty and students to intermingle. And then in the media center, this is similar ceilings and lighting and things, but there's also some built-in components here that are relatively outdated for, larger computers that aren't fixed anymore. So taking those out, opening it up for more flexible usages, redoing the circulation desk there, and then the exterior windows are replaced there as well. So.
Really thankful to Jen Carson and her staff for the feedback and the walkthroughs, the mini walkthroughs, and
Absolutely, working with Jen was great on this one to kind of work through the layouts of those spaces, so, yes.
any questions, comments?
Greg, thank you for being here. You made reference to some of the security upgrades now. La Vista Middle School is one where they already have the controlled access entryway, so for our people viewing at home, you come in through the front doors, you're routed through the main office. We do some type of verification before you're released into the instructional area. Will some of the upgrades that we talked about during the bond campaign, such as the bullet-resistant glass and some of those things, will that be done now when the building is being renovated, or will that happen at a later date?
That will be part of this project, correct. Mhm.
Thank you.
Well, that was one of my questions, and I don't have to ask it. That's all right. No, it's great, because I was interested in that as well. I do love the fact that it may seem simple, but the sidewalk being put around the building, I think that's a real huge key, When there is a fire alarm or something happens and you have kids having to go out that way, just having that ability, especially if you've got somebody handicapped or in a wheelchair or on crutches or whatever, it's hard to come out into the grass. So it's great to see that sidewalk being added to the building all the way around. I like that very much.
Yeah, just to kind of pick up on that, to do the stairs right there too from that church parking lot. But again, it may seem small, but I think it's huge to be able to do that, to give the kids someplace to go up without having to traverse up a hill, especially if the weather isn't as beautiful as it is today. So the one quick question I had, you showed that you were doing the new sidewalk. I guess it's going all, kind of, as you said, meandering all the way around. Will you remove the current one there, or will there be?
Yes, the existing would be removed, and we left that there to kind of show the different route that it would be taking from what's there, just for context. Yep.
Thank you very much.
And if you remember, when we kind of talked about this a couple of years ago now, it seems like anyway, there's a lot of grading issues over there with drainage. So they're going to take care of that so we can get the better, because our sidewalks right now are almost hollow underneath, and we got to bring in dirt underneath there, almost annually. So, that'll be a good fix going down that sidewalk.
No, I'm just very pleased that we are finally updating our middle school track facilities to the 21st century. So I know I was on Mr. Richards way too often as part of the bond conversations about, even our newer middle school tracks have significant cracks. They're just injury-related issues, and, they don't maintain the way the newer track surfaces do, and it's just a lot of extra for our team, repair and maintenance and all that to say, hey, we have a 3 or 4 year old track that's concrete that's got huge gaps and holes in it. It's just, wasn't wasn't up to our standards, so I'm glad that we did put those in at all 3 middle schools, and I'm glad La Vista's getting it, because my knees and ankles still owe that concrete quite a bit of repayment, so appreciate it.
Yep.
And Mr. Richards, can you remind us the timeline on this?
We would go out for bid later this fall, is that correct?
Yeah,
I'll
so,
let you kind of.
yeah, Sampson is looking, or they're bidding that out here, hopefully having a GMP next month, and then they'd be able to start material procurement and looking at finalization of the project in kind of December of '25. Yeah.
So that'd be, a bulk of the work would be probably then next summer?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Would be the guess.
Yeah, they could do the addition kind of starting in the spring.
Yeah,
probably.
yeah. Okay, perfect.
Yeah, the outside stuff, we can get going on a little sooner than that, but, the inside stuff gets done majority in the summer, yes.
Okay. Any other questions? No? All right, well, Greg, thanks for
Thank you
coming.
very much.
Thank you, Mr. Richards. Okay, moving on to item B, policy 5,000, students. Dr.
Yeah,
Saddles.
Perfect. I'll have Dr. Myers and Dr. Steele come up, directors of HR and Student Services for elementary and secondary. And just want to thank them for all of their work on the 5,000s. And then we spent a great deal of time over the last couple of months with the HR and Student Services Subcommittee. So thank you for your attention to these items. Take it away.
Good evening. On behalf of Dr. Settles and Dr. Steele, I will get us started with the proposed changes to the 5,000 series pertaining to students for your consideration and discussion. We'll start with Policy 5007, Retention and Acceleration of Students. The suggested changes on this policy are directly related to updates in the law and are pertain specifically to parent requests of student retention in the grade level, so repeating a grade level. There are specific guidelines for that depending on the grade level as well. As you can see, kindergarten through 4th grade has one set of very specific guidelines, and then 5th through 12th grade has an even more specific guideline there for that one.
Next, in policy 5202, dealing with emergency exclusions from school, there is some clarifying language regarding the standard for when an emergency exclusion can be employed, and also there is a clarification in the hearing procedure. If an emergency exclusion goes beyond 5 days, that triggers a right to a hearing for the student, and it clarifies that the school has a duty, if an employee is a witness to the events that gave rise to the emergency exclusion, the school has a duty to make sure that the employee is there as a witness. That's a procedural aspect of the hearings. Next, moving to policy 5206, dealing with dating violence. This is an update. It makes the language of our policy more concise and yet makes it commensurate with the state statute. Next, policy 5208, Title IX, and I'm going to couple this with a change to policy 2102. 5208 deals with Title IX, and it addresses changes to streamlining in the investigation of allegations of sexual harassment. Whether it's harassing behavior that impacts the climate or whether it's harassing behavior such as forcible behavior like assaults. The changes are in light of legal counsel recommendation, and it expedites the procedure while still maintaining its thoroughness. What our recommendation is that when we have an allegation of sexual harassment, that we would follow the procedure in 2102.
2102 is the complaint procedure that we follow for other types of allegations of harassment, such as harassment based on race or on disability. So it all brings it under one type of procedure, and we think that will be frankly more clear for administrators as they seek to investigate these matters. Next, policy 5301, dealing with student conduct, vandalism, and disruption. There was just some clarifying language stating that we follow, in the administration of our discipline policy, we follow IDEA 504 and Title IX. We always have, but this is just clarifying language to make that explicit. Policy 5302 deals with weapons. This is some clarifying language regarding the definition of a weapon and making clear that the use of weapon to cause harm to others, that is something that's expressly prohibited in our school, and possession of weapons. If you want to talk about student records.
Policy 5501, student records. The suggested updates for this policy are really language changes based on updated practices and advice from legal counsel, and it really does provide clarification for our record stewards in the buildings as well.
Next is policy 5503, dealing with graduation. And I will happily give credit to Ms. Siri and to the Curriculum and Americanism Committee for their work on this. It is part of the 5,000s. This brings our policy commensurate with the new changes in graduation requirements by the state of Nebraska.
Policy 5608, pregnant and parenting students. The recommended updates are stem from the updated Title IX regulations, and so that is the reason for the updated language in this policy. Policy 5609, it's a very, very minor change. This policy is opioid overdose prevention and response, and the change is to give a little bit of leeway on the storage location of the Narcan that we have in schools. And so it was recommended to about halfway down that policy, make those procedures, the bottom portion of that policy procedures, and the Narcan will still remain stored in an unlocked location, but it just may not be the nurse's office.
Next, policy 5701, student transportation. We've added some clarifying language regarding transportation options when we have a student who's a ward of the state and those situations. Policy 5703, dealing with scholarships. Very minor change there. We changed the phrase guidance. We went from guidance program to counseling office. It's just a change in semantics there. Finally, policy 5706. Right now, it is entitled video surveillance. We recommend the change to audio and video recording. We've expanded the scope of the policy to address not only how the district has audio, or I should say video recording in the schools for security purposes, but also it now delineates how other recordings are handled. Every single person has a recording device on them if they have a phone. This is addresses issues of secret recordings and when it's appropriate to record things in school and when not. Finally, and I mentioned this a moment ago, policy 2102, we are recommending amending that to incorporate allowing Title IX complaints to be handled through that procedure, the complaint procedure in 2102. And with that, we would yield back for any questions.
I want to thank the HR Student Services Subcommittee and the administrative staff for the hard work in going through these policies. It was in-depth, and I think we have also need to appreciate our legal counsel who help us make sure that we're following the law all the time. The one thing I think that the Papillion La Vista Schools does well is we annually go through our policy and make sure that we're compliant. So thank you for your hard work.
I'll echo of that. I do have one question, though. If you are not going to store, I hope we never, ever have to touch it, but if you aren't going to store the Narcan in the nurse's office, who will have knowledge about where it's stored in a building?
Great question. So that's something that we're working on right now for emergency medications, and it really depends on the school. So we have a team at every building that is trained on administration of Narcan, and that would be the team that has the awareness of what that location is and be able to access that emergency medication as needed.
Thank you, I appreciate that, and I'm sure there's parents and others out there that just like the comfort of knowing that there's a good plan of action in each building.
Dr. Myers, Dr. Steele, is it accurate that every one of our buildings and programs does have access to Narcan within the building?
Yes.
Yeah. I think it's worth noting, too, that it wasn't certainly binding, but law enforcement approached us some time ago and asked for that very thing. They've had, obviously, experiences where they've quite literally seen it save lives, and I had this conversation with Sheriff Davis. He said, if we do not put this pharmaceutical in our schools where potentially the unthinkable might happen, then we're setting ourselves up for a disappointment. So thank you for your leadership and providing the access while also putting some guardrails in place.
I also wanted to thank you for moving the complaint procedure into one policy rather than trying to find it in multiple areas in our policy. I think it's great to have it in one location and that it all applies to every complaint made within the district. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? No? All right. Thank you, Dr. Steele. Thank you, Dr. Myers. Okay, moving on to item C, Policy 6000. Ms. Siri.
All right, good evening, Board of Education. Before I start tonight, I want to say on the record to Michael and Matt, who are here, I was wrong on the screens. I was worried about giving up the projector, but tonight I could see the logo on the HVAC on the roof of La Vista Middle School. So thank you, guys, for all your work and pushing me. I appreciate it. So before I start tonight, I want to thank the Americanism Subcommittee for the time that we met to go through. I bring forward 7 policies for your consideration tonight that we are either making a recommendation or a suggestion to as far as a change. The first thing you'll see in your board packet is there's a table there that captures those changes with a snapshot, and then behind it is an actual copy of the policies. So if you want to see it in its entirety, you can. The first one, 6102, is organizational divisions in our district. This is just a minor change, but it was adding pre-kindergarten or our preschool at just stated kindergarten, so we wanted to pick that up, and then we did have a grammar correction as well. 6104 is our inclement weather or school closing policy. This was a change. We updated the language and took part of the policy to make sure that it included tornado warnings. This policy was mainly written for snow days, but we have broadened it out and at the same time gotten more specific to identify what would happen or what the expectation would be procedurally if we were in a tornado warning as a district. So we will move that under procedure, and there's no change to the rest of the policy. The next one is 6202. This is our multicultural education, and this one is a change according to state law. We have just a couple of things. The first part is we made a change to encompass all diverse ethnic groups and cultural groups. Previously, the language there came right from Rule 10. but we wanted to acknowledge that there are more than just those 3 groups that are listed in that law. And so we updated that. And then the second part in 6208, which follows right along with the multiculturalism policy, this is our ceremonies and observances. The change in law now adds Malcolm X Day. So we are adding that to our list of observances, and that holiday actually is designated in May, but we will observe that also where it is appropriately taught in our curriculum. The next one, 6209, this is the formerly known as the reading bill. Policy addresses the reading law, and just an update, NDE sent out language that they asked school districts to add to their policies that explains that there is a learning system that is utilized for the primary grades that goes along with the requirements in that law, as well as the fact with the change in the last legislative session that we will report our dyslexia numbers as of July 1st as part of that requirement. So that's just an additional paragraph that's been added to the end of that policy. And then 6402, this one is not really a change in policy, but I wanted to put it on here for you because we're updating our procedure, but the difference is this was a change in state law. And what it is focusing on is maps, specifically Mercator maps, and the use of them in the classroom. And this policy outlines the use of materials and equipment, and so we added explanation about the appropriateness and when you are using a map, what the expectation is. And if it is a Mercator map, there are some guidelines that you need to use it as reference and then show what it would look like not under that same module. And then the last one is 6502, and this is our policy that outlines our process for the textbook loan to private schools. And this particular policy is going away as state law was recently changed, and this will now fall under the governance of NDE. And so we are simply asking that that policy be eliminated. And that brings the end to changes to the 6000 series. Are there any questions or clarification?
Any questions or comments?
I would just say that's a lot of work, and appreciate all the efforts that have been put forth to get through all of it, make sure that it's meeting the letter of the law, and that we are following the right policies and procedures that are out there. And just, you know, I know it sounds silly, but there's always something we'll find in there as a spelling or grammar or something. So catching those at the same time is kind of nice to do the cleanup, but nice work. It was tough, long work, but nice work.
Thank you.
I appreciate the fact that we're getting specific about the tornado warnings. I know we had quite a bit of discussion about that. And if we approve, you know, this at the next meeting, how are we going to make sure that that is out to everyone so that parents understand that the policy is if there's a tornado warning, everybody will be sheltering in place, and it may be at a particular school, depending on the warning, and they should not come trying to pick up children until that is canceled. I mean, that's the big part of this. So how is that going to be?
Yeah, great question. So if you choose to move forward and vote to adopt that change, then we'll start with our building principals, obviously. We'll talk to them because really they're the ones that are following the procedure and trying to be clear with what's expected. Then I'll work with Christopher and we'll work on getting that communication out to parents, likely through school newsletters, because that's where our parents expect to see that type of information. But we'll get that information definitely communicated out.
Okay. Well, thank you, Ms. Siri. Moving on to Section 5, Future Board Calendar. On August 8th, 2024, we have the all-staff kickoff at Warner Park. I need to remember the sunscreen this year. I get a burn every year at that thing. Yes, every year. I was holding something up. August 12th, 2024, the next Board of Education meeting at 6 p.m. here at Central Office. Seeing no further business in front of the board, we'll adjourn the meeting at 6:54. Thank you.